Did you ever sit down to write, to paint, to draw, to just create something, maybe just to brainstorm, and your brain was just an empty potato, a void? Yeah, same. But here's the good news. Your creativity, your spark, it's not gone. It's just hiding a little bit. And today we're gonna go on a treasure hunt to find it. Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Uncharted studio. I'm Celine, and this channel is all about making creativity a central part of your day-to-day life. It's about living more intentionally, living more simply, and feeling like your most inspired self. Today, we're tackling something that every single creative person goes through. We're talking about getting stuck in a rut. That awful soul-sucking moment where everything you create just feels meh. And the idea of trying and trying again and trying something new just feels exhausting. So throughout this video, I'll be sharing some practical, quirky, heart-centric tips and things that can help you recover your spark. I'll also share some of the things that really well-known creatives have done to get themselves out of a rut, and things I did when I hit the lowest of lows during my creative journey so far. Before we start fixing anything, let's take a moment to acknowledge that creative ruts are normal. They don't mean you're broken. They just mean that you're human. And even incredibly prolific writers or people like V. Schwab, for example, who is one of my favorite authors. She's written over 20 books, and she still talks about how burnout and imposter syndrome and all sorts of things like this impact her creativity. It's normal. She once said something like, some days I write 3,000 words, some days I write 30, and then cry for the rest of the day. Both are okay. So if today is a day where you wrote 30 words and you're crying, that's fine. You're in good company. And side note, you should definitely check out her books. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is phenomenal. And she has a new book coming out later this year called Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, and I just can't wait to read it. Here's the thing. Your creativity isn't gone, even though it might feel that way. It's just gone into hibernation. And to wake it up, you need to send it some signals. So here are a few of my favorite ways to do that. First off, move your body to move your mind. Brandon Sanderson, who is famous for writing enormous fantasy books, swears by routine and rhythm. He even walks on a treadmill while writing. You don't need to do that. You don't have to be that intense, unless you want to, of course. But simply going for a walk, stretching, or dancing around your living room can shake things loose. So maybe next time you're stuck on a blank page, put on your favorite song and shake yourself out. Another thing you can do is to try something completely unrelated to the medium you're focusing on. Step away from the blank page and go bake some cookies. Or if you're a painter, I don't know, maybe dance, maybe doodle, maybe come up with a new choreography. Doing something in a different medium can jog things up in your brain. And one of my favorite examples of people who would do weird things to shake things up is Salvador Dali, who would take afternoon naps holding a spoon so that when it would clatter down to the floor, he'd wake up and immediately start sketching out all those fever dreams that he was having. I mean, effective? Yeah, definitely. Absolutely crazy though. We don't all have to do that, although maybe he was onto something. I don't know. For me, one of the biggest creative catalysts has always been traveling. So changing up my environment, the colors, the smells, the textures, the sounds of a new place, they're all pure magic. Even if you can't fly across the world at the drop of a hat, maybe you can just explore a new neighborhood in your city, or work from a different cafe, or even just rearrange your home space. Shaking up your physical space jolts things around in your brain. So let's talk about the days where you're not just feeling blocked, you're feeling empty, like you have nothing left to say. Those are the days when you need to lean into consumption. And I'm not talking about overeating here. I'm talking about filling your creative well, reading books, listening to music, going out, seeing exhibitions, taking things in. This is something that Julia Cameron promotes in The Artist's Way. I don't know if you've read it. There are some things from her practice that I really like. There are others that I'm not such a big fan of, but that's okay. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Anyway, in The Artist's Way, she talks about filling the creative well and going on what she calls artist dates as instances where you go out to nourish your creative spirit and to just play without restriction, without expectations, just have some fun. Anyway, if you're looking for some ways to fill your well, how about revisiting a favorite book or favorite song or movie, something that reminds you why you create? For me, even though, yes, there is so much to say against J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter series was one of the things that made me fall in love with reading when I was growing up. So when I'm in a particularly challenging slump, I'll reread one or all of the books so I can feel that little spark of magic that I felt while growing up, that little something that made me fall in love with stories. Alternatively, books like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue that I mentioned earlier. Yes, I will continue harping on about V. Schwab because I adore both her writing and how open and vulnerable she is about her creative process. Or books like The Shadow of the Wind. These are both beautiful books that can transport you into a world where creativity and stories matter and they have an impact. It's all about the marks that lives leave behind. Another thing you could do to fill up your creative well is to go to a museum or scroll through some art accounts on Instagram. Two of my favorite artists on Instagram right now, for example, are Jenny Genia, who makes the Loving Reaper webtoon, and Yumi Art. Both of them create work that reflects on our world. It reflects on nature, on society, on the impact we have, sometimes positive, sometimes not so positive. And every time I see their work, I feel moved and I feel motivated. So maybe finding your own favorites can do that to you too. It can unlock this desire to communicate and to share thoughts and ideas with the world. Lastly, another way to fill up your creative well is to have long, deep conversations with the people that matter to you. For me, that would be some of my closest friends or my partner. And through these conversations, you can talk about your stories, you can talk about other things that are troubling you, and just release all these things that are trapped inside you to let your creativity flow through. For me, one of the most important things about having my friends, my support system, is I feel safe. And when you feel safe, you're able to experiment and explore and do absolutely crazy things. Some of the best hacks to get out of a creative rut come from examining different creative routines. And if you're curious about creative routines, I'm working on a series where I'm going to trial the creative routines of different writers, different artists, and more, so stick around. Here are a few hacks that other people swear by. One is twilight journaling. Write right before bed when your brain is dreamy and weird, and let the subconscious just play. Then there's reverse constraints. So for example, write a story where nothing bad happens, or where every character has a dog, or where everything has to rhyme. It sounds fun, no? These constraints can be creative fuel. Another one is to set, let's say stupidly, small goals. So Shinedown, which is a band I really enjoy listening to, their frontman at some point talked about making progress every day, even if it was just one chord or one lyric or one line or one verse, focusing more on momentum than on the masterpiece you're ultimately trying to create. So another thing you can do that I'd love to try out is to create a costume, your creative costume, something that tells your brain that now it's time to make things up. whether that's putting on a specific sweater or, I don't know, a ring or a playlist or something. Do you have anything that you consider your creative costume? Tell me about it, because I think this is something I'd really like to try. One hack I do incorporate in my life is the idea of stillness. In an interview with, I think, NPR, Hosier said, "I think allowing for silence and space is very important creatively. Some of the stuff you're trying to reach for will only reveal itself in a moment of stillness." Now, the stillness can take many forms. Some people swear by mindfulness or meditation, which I am absolutely terrible at. I just can't get my head around it, which is ironic. Other people garden. I go for walks, or I fill up coloring books. I think each person has to find their own little things that bring them the sense of calm and stillness. Recovering your creative spark isn't about forcing yourself to be productive. It's about creating the right conditions for your creativity to resurface. It's like coaxing a shy cat out from under the bed. You know, you show up, you leave the door a little bit open, maybe you bring some snacks, something to tempt it out. You don't start yelling at it to hurry up and get out from under the bed. Your creative spark never actually leaves you, even though it might feel that way, especially when you're staring at a blank page for the 20th day in a row. Sometimes you just need to remember why you started this in the first place, just to give your creativity a little bit of time so it can shine again. So remember, think of that story that you wanted to tell, the one that kept you up at night, buzzing under your skin. You know, that painting that you imagined in vivid colors, but never quite brought to life. That feeling that you wanted to pass on to someone else, like a spark in the dark. It's all still there. It's just waiting for you to come back to it and to let it breathe. Now, I want to hear from you. What are things that help you get out of a creative rut? And what are things you're struggling with? Let me know. If this video gave you even a little bit of a spark, then hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around for more gentle motivation, for more creative support and cozy inspiration. Nope, not what I wanted. So let's talk about the days when you feel... Anyway, if you're... Oh, let me drink some water. Bah. Or just scroll through some art attacks. Heart attacks. Curious. Why is my tongue not working? Or recovering your creative spark. Oops.